Well, here we are back on the wings again and on the fabric. I've abandoned the cowl idea for the time being. But yeah, I intend starting the covering on this the underside of this wing. I'll cover the underside of both wings, but I'm going to start on this one. I will be using the heavier grade fabric, the medium weight fabric. The main reason is this little radial. It basically puts out nearly double the horsepower that the aeroplane was designed for. Now people have, increased the horsepower. It will take the 100 horsepower Rotax 912S, which is what I've got in one of the other airplanes at the moment. This is 110 horsepower, this Rotax radial, but the difference is that this engine puts out a ton of torque, puts out a really quite a lot of torque compared to the 912. And so subsequently it drives a much bigger propeller than the 912. And I can just imagine that bigger propeller taking its toll on the fabric. So that was why I decided to go with the heavier. One of the reasons I decided to go with the heavier fabric. Now, I think I've explained this before, but most aeroplanes that have got a bigger engine than usual installed will suffer back here in the back end of the aeroplane. By the time the prop wash gets back here and it'll slam sideways into the fin and rudder. So they're going to cop a lot of side load on the back end of the aeroplane. So I'm definitely going to put heavier grade fabric here on the back of the aeroplane. I've also decided that, I'm doing the upper wings at the moment. This is just the lower wing that's still installed. I'm going to put extra fabric rivets in the ribs. I'll interspace a fabric. You can see a hole there and a hole there maybe. This is where the fabric rivets are meant to go. Well, I'll interspace one between those two, just in this section out to the aileron. From the aileron and outboard, the wing should not be subjected to those same pulses that the fuselage section will be. So anyway, yeah, that's what I'm up to next. But yeah, I finally pulled out the fabric, cut a piece off the correct length for the upper wings, for the lower portion of the upper wings. This is the fabric here. This is Superflight fabric. It is certified fabric. That's what that stamp is, and the stamps along the way there. The light grade fabric I had, I think, was Seconite, or one of the other companies that uses Seconite, and it wasn't certified. Just as a side issue, the certified fabric just happened to be, I think it was about $5 a yard cheaper than the uncertified stuff. I don't know, no idea how that works, but that's what I've got, and that's what I'm about to do. I'll go and install that, or try to install that fabric now. Might have to close the doors. We've got a little bit of wind around today, and I guess the fabric will be blowing around the place. Certainly is at the moment. The next thing is to line the fabric up and make a few cuts in it, because there's a few protrusions that come through the fabric. Here's the fabric unfurled on the wing. What I'm going to do now is I'll go along this line here with some, just with some masking tape, and mask that down. I've got an excess of fabric here. The other end's not quite as bad, but you don't need that much. You only need about this much. Yeah, only a couple of inches at the most. But anyway, I've wasted a little bit of fabric, but that's what's next, is to go ahead just with a few short pieces of masking tape and glue that on. Glue the fabric, attach the fabric temporarily with the masking tape so that I can find the protrusions that I need to cut into the fabric and go ahead and cut the fabric. All right, let's have a look where we are so far. I've sticky taped just with some masking tape. I've sticky taped the, well, what I call the maker's edge of the fabric onto the leading edge. I've drawn a line from, this is the leading edge metalwork, from there down about 3 inches, because you need 3 inches of overlap on fabric, especially around the leading edge area. So I intend bringing this is the bottom of the wing. I intend bringing the fabric up and around and overlapping back to here. Yeah. That gives me my 3 inches of overlap. And then I'll run a 2-inch tape down here, which, so an inch of it will be on the new fabric that comes around this side, and the other inch will be here on this fabric that you can see now. I think that'll be reasonable. Now, a purist might try and pink this edge. Pink that edge and try and make it dead straight would be incredibly difficult. What I intend doing is putting the maker's edge here, like I have. I'll apply some glue here later on, maybe today or tomorrow, maybe an inch or so of glue to hold that down, and so that I can remove the masking tape. There will be a step when the new fabric on the upper side of the wing comes, it wraps around. There will be a step just here where the join is. Well, I think I'm prepared to put up with that. Right on the leading edge probably wouldn't be a good thing. You can't tamper. This slow aeroplane is probably not going to make much difference one way or the other. And a higher speed aeroplane, it probably would. So be careful where that join goes. You can't put it right in the middle of the leading edge, for instance. It'll cause an airflow disturbance. But I think that'll be reasonably fine. I've still got to cut the relief bits. Got the fuel tank, the fuel supply. This is the fuel tank here. This is the bottom of the fuel tank here. This is where the fuel valve's going to go, or the fuel line's going to go. You've got this thing here, which is the rear spar attach point. There'll have to be a slot cut in the fabric so that can poke through. it's fairly important that I get them in I'm going to cut a hole around here and then put a doily over it. But it's fairly important that you get the hole in the right place. I don't want it looking horrible. Now I've cut the excess. This is the excess fabric that you can see here, laying on top of the wing. This is the offcut from where the aileron would go. And of course, this is where the aileron fits here. So there's more than enough fabric there to cover any of those empennage components. So, I think this was a mistake, there's no shortage of them, another mistake that I made. There's more than enough fabric there to cover at least one side of the rudder, probably both. Same with the elevator. The elevator's even a little bit smaller than the rudder. The ailerons, the way I've cut that, there probably is sufficient fabric to do the ailerons, but I don't intend to do the ailerons in that same weight of fabric. I want to do them in a lighter weight of fabric. Horizontal stabiliser, okay, I might not be able to get enough out of it. I probably can. Yeah, so be careful with your offcuts. Your offcuts are not wastage. They really need to be used elsewhere. This heavier grade of fabric I bought, I've explained this before, but I'll go over it again. It is certified fabric. It's Superflight, it's called. It was cheaper than the other fabric, which is probably Seconite. But not only that, here's the Seconite fabric finishes here. These are the rolls of fabric. The new fabric finishes there, so there's a good, probably, 6 or so inches extra. The actual, the fabric is wider, and they're both lined up, more or less. The fabric's lined up on this end on both rolls. So you get more square metres, or square feet, or square whatever, out of the Superflight fabric than you do out of the Seconite one. But I think it's about $5 a yard cheaper. Yeah, the certified one is about $5 a yard cheaper than the non-certified Seconite. All right, let's see if we can. Just be careful what you can cut this. I'll just put a little bit of strain on the fabric, not much. And I'll cut from about there over to about here. Roughly. And also this way. Something like that. That's sitting down fairly well. That's pretty nice. I've got a fair bit to trim off there yet, so you're not going to see any of those daggy cuts that I've just made. And this one. About the same. Look at that, beautiful. Okay, I've marked around this this outlet on the fuel tank, and I'm about to cut it with the pinking shears. This way. Okay. Well, that's more or less what I wanted to do. And there will be a doily that's probably about that size, which will go over the top, and you'll have pink edges right out to here. You won't see any of that. Perfect. Perfect. This one here will get an elongated doily around him as well. But the other two won't. These two don't. These two here, where the cables go down to the fuse, this whole section gets cut out, and a panel gets screwed on there. That's what those holes are for. Done. Well, here we are back to covering the wings again. I've already glued this the leading edge part down. I'll do something else with that later, which I'll bring you back and show you. Especially places like this. If you can see, there's bubbles there. Look at that. They will sit down, but they probably won't stay down. But with the hot iron, they will. So today, I want to trim this off along here. These clamps are just holding weight on the fabric. So yeah, we'll trim that off here somewhere and glue that down there. This has already been glued along the trailing edge here. Not trailing edge, it's really where it'll be forward of the aileron in that section. This bit needs to be glued down, and that'll be trimmed and glued today. This is already along the actual trailing edge. Under here has been glued in that same location there, but underneath. The other fabric will go from underneath and come up and get glued on here on the top. Yeah, well, top. This is actually the bottom. And then, of course, this bow, there's a bow that goes in there that'll have to be, this fabric will be cut and trimmed and glued to that bow. Then we get out the iron and we start ironing. Oh, this end has got to be glued down as well, same as the other end. So it's glued at the... Well, here's the the fabric glued on one side of this, the underside of this this one wing. It's actually glued all the way around now, down this this inner rib here, around the curve at the back. And inside curves are a little bit tricky. Outside ones are fairly easy, but inside ones are a bit tricky. This this rough cut here, once I've shrunk the fabric, I will make a patch that'll go around this, and hopefully I can make it look quite neat and everything. This looks pretty good. It'll pull down, and then another patch will go over the top and go out here somewhere, another couple of inches past that. The leading edge is glued on, which you can't see very well now. This area is all glued down. Yeah, so when I do go to shrink the fabric, it's actually pulling around a corner on almost all sides. So there, here on this rib, it'll have to pull the fabric around that corner to shrink. Same on this end rib. Yeah, the fabric actually comes around the corner and is glued down. So when the fabric starts to shrink, it'll have to pull around a corner. And I'll only give it the first shrink, and then I'll put the fabric on this side. I don't want to pull it out of shape, because I could shrink it and pull the whole wing out of shape. So no, I'll put the fabric on this side before I shrink any further, and put it on this side and shrink it. But that's it. It's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I've got a few little crinkles here, which are sort of out of the way. I'll deal with them a bit further once this glue's gone off. I won't do anything more with this wing today. I'll come back tomorrow when the glue's gone off properly. I only just glued this part on today. So that's that wing. This is the wing that I had already beyond that stage. I had the tapes on it, remember? Well, here it is back, almost ready. I'll pull the fabric out this afternoon and cut it, and maybe even start gluing it on to try and bring it back to where it was, but also get it to about the same stage as that wing there. So I am advancing. It's slow, but no, we'll get there. We'll get there bit by bit. The heavier fabric, the medium grade fabric, is not as easy to work with as the light grade stuff. I can tell you what, it puts up a bit more of a fight. It's a bit stiffer. It doesn't conform. It doesn't want to conform. It will eventually, but it doesn't want to conform like the other one did. I don't like that crinkle there, but I think it'll pull out when I start shrinking it. We'll soon see, I suppose. We'll see tomorrow morning. All right, here we go. It's morning here, and beautiful day. We've got glue. We've glued the fabric down all the way around, all the way across the end here, all the green bits, along the leading edge, and across the back, and the bow, around the bow as well, and underneath the trailing edge there. Okay, so the fabric's attached all the way around. The next step is to shrink the fabric. The iron's sitting there getting hot, and it's on the 250 degree setting, which I set with my infrared thermometer. The other wing over there is not quite to the same standard yet. It's glued along the leading edge, but it's not glued on the sides or the trailing edge. I'll do that later on after I finish doing this shrinking. So I'll put you on the tripod and let you see what goes next. Now here's something we spoke about the other day on an early part of this video. These little pieces here that are not glued down properly, we can actually iron them down and they will stick down. This glue either glues when it goes off, or once it has gone off, you can apply heat to it and it'll glue again. So let's just have a go at them and see if we can't get any of them to sit down a bit better by using some heat. So just here, for instance, and around the rivets. Around the rivets doesn't really want to glue on properly. But if you iron it down now, then it probably will glue on properly. Yeah, there you go. That seems to be working to me. But it melts the glue and re-seals it. So, no, that works fine. Beautiful. So I'll just go along and do that first before I hook in and start shrinking the fabric itself. All right, we're pretty much ready to start shrinking. The objective here is to shrink bit by bit by bit, not for instance that whole panel, then the next one, then the next one. No, we'll hit one, miss one, hit one, miss one, and probably only do half of the panel, halfway across there, the cord, and yeah, just gently ease the fabric into position. Yeah, don't just start at one end and start shrinking. You're probably going to pull it out of shape, pull the wing out of shape eventually, I suppose, if you kept trying hard enough. But I'll take you down here. Or we can start in the middle and work our way out, I suppose. This is more or less the middle. Close enough. Okay, let's start with this panel. Like I said, I've got the iron set at what I think is 250 degrees according to my infrared thermometer. And we just gently, I'm not pressing down or anything, just very, very gently touching fabric. You can see that's already starting to shrink. So we'll leave that one. We can always come back. And we'll do a little bit on this one. See the wrinkles starting to come out of it a bit. And then the end panel, for instance. Look at that, beautiful. Now I'll do the other half of the interspersed panels. Absolutely beautiful. It's just barely touching the surface. When you go over the metal parts, like this rib, for instance, it acts as a big heat sink and it sucks the heat out of the iron. Yeah, so it takes a little bit more. You couldn't just leave that on there and let it sit there. It'll shrink that one spot. But on the ribs, you virtually can. You have to move much more slowly because the ribs are sucking the heat out of the iron. That first panel looks really, really good. Really, really good. I'll work my way along the others. Well, that has to be one of the most satisfying things in aircraft building. There's a little bit of puckering here, which I can't get with that big iron. I'll fix that up later. But look at that. The rest of it is absolutely beautiful. This is the wing to cabane strut connection, the forward one, the aft one over there. This actually gets cut out, this piece of fabric here, and a doily gets put around there. But no, I'm quite satisfied with that. Now, to fix that little bit of puckering, I've got this smaller iron. It's the tiny little thing, like a kid's one type of thing. It'll go in. If I have to get it a bit hotter than the whatever it was, 250, then I'll do that because it's on the main spar and it's also on a reinforcement. So, that's a massive heat sink. So, but I will get those puckers out. There's no question. But the rest of it looks damn good. Damn good. I'm very happy with that. Now, yep, that's better. We can shrink this corner down. It doesn't really matter because the wingtip will actually be riveted on here anyway, so you're not going to see any wrinkles in it, but I'll know. So we're going to do it. We'll do it properly. But this little soldering iron works a treat. I don't think they cost very much, but you can get into nice fine places. I could no way in the world get in here with that full size one that you have, in the laundry for your clothes. And just here I can do this bit as well. In amongst the rivets. It's a bit tricky to get in here with anything else as well. I'm quite happy with this. It looks it looks really quite good. I'll do each of these as I go. But yeah, see, none of this fabric's fastened down except for the perimeter. So when you shrink it, it'll move itself and line up where it wants to be on the ribs and so on. And then all you have to do is rivet it down. Basically, attach the reinforcing tapes and rivet it down. Try not to rub the daylights out of it on top of a rivet like that, because you will wear the fabric through and pop the rivet through the fabric. We don't want to do that. Here's a little bit of a crinkle here. We see if we can't do something about that. Well, that's coming up nice. That's sorted its crinkles out. We've got a few here as well. I don't know if they're going to be so easy to pop out, but we'll try. That's beautiful. The fabric from the upper side of the wing will wrap around here and be joined on top of this fabric to about 3/4 of an inch, something like that. Probably about the same as the trailing edge there, just to make it look neat. I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But yeah, I'm very, very happy with this. I wasn't all that happy with the heavier grade fabric. It's not as easy to handle as the lighter grade stuff, but it's not too bad. It's doing its thing. It's working as advertised, so I can't complain too much. There's a fair bit of traffic around for it's a weekday, it's a Thursday today. Yeah, so there's a lot of traffic around. Oh yeah, this is good. This is very good. It's just that one little plate there, doubler plate that I've put on. And so what I might do is I might crank the heat a little bit more out of this little iron, because like I keep saying, the doubler plate's sucking the heat out of the iron before it shrinks the fabric. That's kind of doing it.
Matter of fact, it is exactly doing it. That's really good. Well, there's a couple of crinkles there. They'll get covered by the tape anyway, but we'll see if we can't get them out. Looks like we can.
With my tricky
Looks
soldering
like we
iron.
Oh, yes. Was happy with
But
just
I
that
think
little
we'll
bit
leave
of
it
extra
there.
heat.
I think that's pretty
Amazing.
damn good.
Oh, I'm happy to have
That's
it.
it.
Okay, well,